Got it.
And
so,
people are
Bernie
still arriving.
and Stefan, we'll let you guys look after the door. And hey, LinkedIn, YouTube, this is pretty exciting. First try we got on today. So I was sharing with some of the business people that are on the call that everything that Connect Ottawa, so if you're just tuning in, Connect Ottawa is actually a group that supports business people with tools and resources and wonderful events like this today that we introduce people and they get to share their expertise and we get to learn something. So it's always exciting. And today we're excited to have Vicky Bruce all the way from Scotland. And I think she's going to be talking about, things like travel, luxury, experiences, whiskey. I don't know. That sounds right up my game. I'm really looking forward to hearing about that today. But before we get started, what we like to do is Bernie and Stefan on here are partners in crime with Connect Ottawa. And Bernie's going to give us a quick rundown. Do we need to know any housekeeping tips today, Bernie, before we all get started?
Margaret Ann, yes, we do. So here we go. So this is kind of the scoop. If you're full screen on your Zoom, upper right-hand corner, you'll have a view button. If you click that, you can exit out of, you can either go to full screen or away from full screen, right? And so if you need access to the one screen that you have, you can get access to that space by making it not full screen. Also, make sure you're in the gallery mode or chessboard, which is also very helpful. You have a reactions button on the bottom right, in which case in that space you can thumbs up or put a hand up. And if you want to be a little more interactive, we have a chat box. So if you click on the chat bottom center, you'll find chat and you open it up and you post some information in there, like who are you, where are you at? That's kind of important information. So that way people here can share your or contact and reach you later on. All right. Now, the other important part about the chat is the three dots. While it's open, click the three dots, hit save chat. And if you don't know where it saves it in your computer, look above, it says show in folder. So it'll tell you where to go in that space. All right. Now, if you have the typical, you're stubbing your toe on things and you're going to let out a yelp, be on mute, please, for those painful moments. Or if you're having neighbors that are having painful moments, or the dogs or the kids, go pain-free, hit the mute button. All right. Keeps the flow going smoothly. Back over to you. Oh, and 5 minutes after the hour, we will have a survey coming out. I'll repeat that all later on. All right, over to you, Margaret Ann.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Yes, that survey is great. We've updated it, so we appreciate you take the time. It's going to give us a little bit more information about you and see if you enjoyed the presentation today, which I know you're going to. And also, Stefan, if you don't mind, would you mind sharing the link for the YouTube channel where we've got some great information and we will information share about our memberships and stuff also. But right now we are at 1:08. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start around the room and we're going to give the people that are on the call right now the opportunity to introduce themselves. It's going to be very short and sweet, but to the point, who you are, what's your business name, and I'm going to give you 15-20 seconds to share what would you like us to know about you today. So how about you, Anna? We'll start with you.
Hello everybody, nice to meet you. I'm Anna and I am a management consultant. I have my own management consultancy business. And for me, it's important to help SMEs to reduce the complexity and create meaningful solutions for them. And that's what I basically do, anything and everything concerned with the business. So thank you.
Perfect. Don't forget to put your contact information in the chat box, Anna.
I'm not
okay,
forgetting.
how about awesome. Okay, how about Wayne?
My name is Wayne Pratt. My company name is Motivate You, and I help entrepreneurs have more money and make and more fun.
Okay, I like that, Wayne.
Thank
You're
you.
a keeper.
Thank you.
Maria.
Hello, I'm Maria. I'm still figuring it out, and I love coming and hanging out with you guys and learning many, many more things so that when I decide what I'm doing, I'm fully set.
Awesome. And I love that. So anybody tuning in, we are business people, or if you're thinking of a business or just trying to figure out your way, we welcome everyone. So how about Pamela?
Hi, everyone. My name is Pamela Vici, And I just graduated from Centennial College with a postgraduate diploma. So I'm currently having my co-op studies with Brenda at the New Life Project Incorporated. And I'm just learning at the moment, but I'm very passionate about humanitarian work. So yeah.
Perfect. Nice to have you here, Pamela. Well, then we'll move it over to Brenda, partner in crime.
Hi, my name is Brenda Williams. I'm also the founder of New Life Project Incorporation, and I love working with women and youth, and our passion is to help develop them in whatever way we can, and that's what we're doing presently.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Brenda, and inviting people. Abraham, I'm not sure. Are you there? Able to say? Don't want to scare it.
Yes.
There we
Hi,
go.
everyone. Hi. My name is Abraham. I'm from also New Life Project. So I look forward to this panel. I enjoyed it last time, so I'm coming again.
Perfect. Glad to have you here. And how about Larry? Connecting to audio. How about we move to Robert?
Hey, how's everybody this morning?
Awesome.
Bobby the coffee guy. That's all you have to remember. Forget everything else. Go and get yourself some good coffee. We have it all.
I love it. Thanks, Bobby. Okay, how about, let's see, we got Larry still trying to connect. Larry, I don't know if you can hear me or not. No, we have FOs.
No, yeah.
FOs? Oh.
Hi, my name is Efuse Obioma. I'm also a co-op student with Ms. Brenda Williams at New Life, and I'm also a recent graduate of of international development at Centennial College, and I'm happy to be here. I was invited by Pamela actually because I wasn't here in the last meeting.
Well, we're happy. Glad you joined us today. We're in for a special treat, guys, all the way from Scotland, just letting you know. So don't leave us out there in LinkedIn world, because you're going to be really excited about what's going to be happening. Totally unplanned. So how about we move over to Stefan?
Yeah. My name is Stefan John Metro. I am the Vice President of Business Development for the franchise and also the Chief Technology Officer. I'm a digital ecosystem architect, and I build systems for businesses from communities to small business owner and teams or extended team company. And this is what I do. You just create a vision, and I make it a reality in terms of marketing automation or online system, connected website with your goals and so on.
Perfect. Thank you. And we're glad to have you on the team. And how about you, Bernie?
What do? I do stuff. My name is Bernie Fransbrot. I am from Creative Insight Consultants. I do B2B connections, actually people-to-people connections, and that's actually the true key. My focus is on those that are either starting or those that are coming up with a new product line or a new product and looking to seek more input and or opportunities. And that's basically what I'm doing. I just posted my information in the chat. So you have my LinkedIn profile. You can get into that. And folks, I encourage you to also make sure your contact information is part and parcel of this. And Margaret Ann, over to you.
Thank you, Bernie. Yeah, and like Bernie said, I always encourage everybody to reach out to at least one person after this call, because this is also about networking. And if you want to network, you got to learn who they are, go have a conversation and see where that will take. You just never know of the magic that will happen. And for me, I'm a strategic business connector, empowering entrepreneurs with incredible ideas, tools, and technologies to make your vision a reality. Think outside the box and tell it like it is. That's my new tagline. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Bernie, because what have we got happening?
Margaret Ann, all the way from Scotland, I understand. So, folks, Vicky Bruce has got a special treat for us today. We're getting some live activity going on here, more than just Vicky talking. All the way from Scotland, she's got a very exciting thing. Today is a Robbie Burns Celebration Day. And so we have a Scottish piper in traditional kit, and it's going to be happening live from Scotland. Vicky, over to you for the pipe.
Thank you, guys. Right, I'd like to introduce you to Dean.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Who's going to play a tune? take it away. I might have to go back to it. I hope I wasn't
Vicky.
on mute.
No, you weren't on mute. Yeah, no, he was doing fine. He didn't look like he was about to blow up. He was awesome. So, folks, I'm going to introduce Vicky to you. Vicky is the managing director of Scotland's most prestigious inbound travel company called McLean and Bruce. She married into the Bruce family, which has a historic ties to Canada. She's also able to offer superb access to the most privileged aspects of Scottish life for clients. Her business partner, Charles McLean, who is Scotland's best-known whiskey expert and author, gives the team and the guests unrivaled opportunities in a wonderful world of whiskey. And over to you, Vicky.
Okie dokie. This is the bit. Am I shared?
You are.
I am shared. Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. Let me just move the thing. Wait, delighted to have been asked to speak to you all today. It's a great honor and privilege. So, having looked at your website, Connect Ottawa clearly aims to bring business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals, and corporations together. So, with that in mind, I decided that the best thing to do was simply just share my story with you and hope that you feel that there's something worthwhile in there. Hopefully connect with me afterwards. LinkedIn is a wonderful thing. So originally, my background is I grew up in southwest Scotland, a little place called Wigtown, which is best known for being Scotland's national book town. And that's where my brother lives now, running Scotland's largest second-hand bookshop. That's a picture of him. I married into the Bruce family, as Bernie just said. And so I've asked my brother-in-law because
your picture didn't advance. Sorry.
Right. It should have advanced. Is it not advancing?
Yes, that's it. It's good now. Sorry.
Great. Please let me know if it does that again. So I've asked my brother-in-law to give me the potted history of the Bruce family's connection to Ottawa, well, Canada. And he wrote the following. Our connection with Canada stems from the mid-19th century in the period before Confederation. Two ancestors were appointed as Governor General, and that was Jack Lambton, the first Earl of Durham, who wrote the constitutional blueprint for Canada, the Durham Report, and coincidentally his son-in-law, James Bruce, the 8th Earl of Elgin. James served as Governor General from 1848 to 1851, a time when Canada faced the most traumatic period of its political history. The Parliament building in Montreal was burned to the ground by rioters, and a vociferous group of politicians came perilously close to seeking annexation by the United States. James, who is my father-in-law's grandfather, James responded with courage and determination to establish a responsible cabinet government and rebuild the shattered economy. James negotiated the first North American Free Trade Treaty, which is called the Elgin-Marcy Treaty, in Washington in 1854, which guaranteed Canadian producers access to US markets for the first time. He was the first governor to use the maple leaf as the official symbol of Canada. He also chose the site of the new federal capital at Ottawa. His groundwork enabled Canada to become the first British colony to achieve self-governing status. His vision for Canada was based soundly on achieving parity between the Anglo-Saxon and Francophone ethnicities, pioneering the successful multicultural society which Canada today represents. Needless to say, there is a good deal more which can be said about this period of history, and my brother-in-law is a mine of information, and the family connections with Canada continue very strongly today. So this is the family home, Broomhall House, which is about 15 miles north of Edinburgh. A few years ago, my brother-in-law, Lord Bruce, who just wrote that piece, took the decision to bring a commercial element to the family home and allow a small series of private events to be held there every year. For us, working in the luxury tourism industry as we do, and I'll get to that shortly, means that the house is a perfect fit for us, and we aim to bring most of our guests to Broomhall for a tour, a whiskey tasting, a lunch, a dinner, and it's always an absolute highlight for guests. My brother-in-law does a tour, and he's a superb host. Back to my own background, while raising my family, I spent about 15 years working for Adelphi Distillery, an independent bottler of single cask whiskey, which my husband Alex runs, and you can get it in Canada. There are many aspects to the whiskey industry, and some are more glamorous than others. But for me, as well as working at whiskey festivals and doing some of the entertaining stuff for the company, my job was mainly working in the warehouse bottling whiskey, which is definitely one of the less glamorous but fairly essential parts of the job. But I was laughing because sadly, none of my workmates have ever looked as handsome as the man in this photograph. Reality bites. So Adelphi export their whiskey all over the world, including Monaco. And this is going back to how the company started. In 2013, Alex told me he was going over to do a tasting in Monte Carlo for his importer there. I insisted on abandoning ship and going with him to help pour the whiskey. Hadn't been to Monte Carlo before, and it's very nice. While we were there, his importer asked me to help organise a whiskey trip to Scotland for 12 quite high-profile guests, and that it really floated my boat. I jumped straight in. I was, all over this. So we started work together, organising a trip based around what they were interested in, how much time they had, what their budget was and things. Anyway, it turned out to be Prince Albert of Monaco, his wife, Princess Charlene, and 10 of their close friends. Looking back on that now in terms of what I do for the business now, this was a pretty steep learning curve. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a really steep learning curve, particularly in how to host a senior royal on British soil. It's a very, very high security operation, and I became very well acquainted with special branch and all manner of other law enforcement parts of the UK. So for that particular trip, one of the key people involved was Charles MacLean. So anybody who knows Charlie, who knows whiskey has possibly heard of Charlie. He's the best known whiskey writer and expert in the world. And he's the part of the MacLean, and I'm the Bruce, obviously. At the end of that particular trip for Prince Albert, Charlie asked me if he thought that we might do more of this type of experience, like bringing clients to Scotland rather than him traveling all over the world. He was doing hundreds of flights every year, and it was quite a grueling workload. So we thought, let's bring them to Scotland. And that's how the business was born. Born to two rather naive but enthusiastic parents. And now, unbelievably, the company is almost 9 years old. Third company director and our chairman is David Moore, who joined us a few months after we incorporated the company, Geo in Asia from 2004 to 2013. And then came back to the UK and worked again within the Scottish drinks industry. With a legal background, he's an extremely useful person to have as a fellow director. We're very fortunate to have him. So then we sort of picked up the reins with great naivety, a lot of enthusiasm, very little experience, and we used the Prince Albert trip as a template for the travel business. So it was the model that everything subsequently was based on. It took quite a while to find our feet, to build the actual company, the sort of architecture and structure of the company, to source high-end suppliers in Scotland, build those relationships, learn about the industry as we were going on, as well as obviously finding potential clients, because we started from absolute scratch. But with David's background in the drinks industry in China, he was able to make a lot of really valuable connections, and that's where our clients started. And from that, we chose to work on a very small scale, working at the high end, growing via referrals and word of mouth. and just offering our guests quality products and services available, the best that was available in Scotland. So it was really the quality over the quantity. Our USP sort of grew quite organically. One of the key defining features was really that we create experiences through our connections, because we've been here for a very, very long time. With, you know, Alex's family history, he's been here for 1,000 years. I haven't been here, I'm not quite that old, but, you know, they've been here for a really long time. So we've got really good contacts. We were at school here. We've got family all over Scotland, friends all over Scotland. So we're able to call on them to help us put things together. And it's been a really important part of what we do to create experiences that other people can't do, that visitors to Scotland can't do without us. That's really sort of where we keep our focus, and sort of narrowing that down further within the whisky industry. And I feel that it's worth mentioning, with the benefit of hindsight's a wonderful thing, that starting a business with no prior experience in that industry originally felt to us like a handicap, but actually I think it's proven to be one of our greatest strengths, because we don't really look at what other people do, we just do it our way. We treat all of our clients as guests, as friends, or as Monegasque royalty, because that's, you know, that is the model that we're working from. So we started the business in 2013. And then the pandemic hit us quite early, because our clients were, you know, at the time, I think we realized that the phrase putting all your eggs in one basket kind of applied to what we were doing, because we were very heavily reliant on the Chinese market. They were coming over here to enjoy luxury experiences with us, largely whiskey orientated. And so when the pandemic hit, it hit there first. So actually we got our first cancellations at the end of 2019. Prior to that, the growth of the company had been very slow, steady, consistent. And by 2019, we were in a really strong position. We were really hitting our stride. So, you know, that was obviously a bit of a blow. To give you an idea of what we were doing up until the pandemic, here, just 4 pictures. I could show you countless photographs of beautiful castles, beautiful rooms within beautiful castles, and beautiful parts of Scotland. So, and crucially, that our guests generally stay in exclusive use castles, so there's nobody else there. Actually, post-COVID, that's quite useful, because it's really easy to control that bubble. Typically, private chefs, including chefs, chefs that we work with quite regularly, they use, obviously, the Scottish produce is famous all over the world. So, you know, we're really able to go to town on the food. We work with wine merchants who pair all the food, and we do all this in advance with the clients. We have these conversations before they come, what their dietary requirements are, what their favorite wines are, what they don't want to see on the menu, what they'd like to try just for fun. So, you know, it's really nice having those conversations before people arrive and being able to create exactly what they want. While guests are with us, they also enjoy some really, I mean, loads of activities, far too many that we could mention here. I've got a sort of a book which I've gradually created of crazy things that we've put together for people. Traditional activities are fishing, shooting, golf, and falconry. That's what, you know, most of our guests will actually really be quite keen to do. Obviously, golf is pretty enormous, and we've got some of the best fishing in the world, like you Canadians have as well. For the majority of our guests, as I said, visiting whiskey distilleries and doing private whiskey tastings, usually led by Charlie, are pretty high on their wish lists. A lot of them are here because they're specifically looking for high value buying opportunities, both bottles and casks, which we can facilitate. And if anybody knows a bit about whiskey, you'll know that the price range can go up into, you know, many tens of millions for bottles and casks. So it's quite interesting, and we've had to really forge our relationships with the distilleries in order to bring that to our guests. So the distilleries across Scotland give us and the guests very exclusive access, very exclusive treatment. So we're able to provide really fantastic experiences which are unavailable to anybody else in the travel industry or in the whiskey industry. We straddle a really peculiar little sort of niche there. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and international travel just really stopped in March 2020. with all of our clients coming from overseas and the majority from China, it had an immediate and devastating effect on the whole industry. But, you know, obviously we were part of that. Our Chinese clients, as I said, began cancelling in December 2019 and January 2020. So we were a bit before everybody else. UK went into lockdown March 2020. Obviously, nobody had any idea of the length of time or the impact on the industry. To begin with, we were thinking, in March, we were thinking that people would be rebooking in April, May, June. Absolute naivety to believe that it would go on for such a short period of time. My initial response for the first lockdown was to use the time to give the business a deep clean and do some forward planning, because as a small business, we've always been very reactive. I've never felt that we've never really had the time to be proactive. So I used that time to sort of just give everything a good look, create a new business plan, a new roadmap, and just, you know, really sort of take some time to look at the business and what had gone on up until that point and where we were going to go forward. LinkedIn became an incredibly valuable platform for me. We were keeping up to date with people and what was going on in the industry. There was, you know, it was unbeatable for that. And obviously there were a lot of really difficult stories going on. Babson College, one of the opportunities that I jumped on was brought to us through Entrepreneurial Scotland, which is a fantastic organisation here. And they teamed up with Babson College, which is a private business school in Massachusetts, established actually in 1919. And their central focus is on entrepreneurship education. So they actually have got a really interesting, wide, diverse number of courses. So I signed up for two. The first was Conscious Capitalism, a course run by one of the founders, Raj Sisodia. And if anybody's interested in this, it's a fascinating subject, and Raj sums it up so beautifully in a video called Conscious Capitalism Unpacked, and I can share the link. It's called Conscious Capitalism Unpacked, an Evening with Raj Sisodia, and it's an absolutely brilliant video. It's about an hour. After this course finished, the Scottish cohort that I was doing it with, we actually went on to found something called Conscious Leaders Scotland, which is just bringing these concepts, the 4 tenets as they're called, to Scotland. And actually we had great engagement from the Scottish business community on that. The second course I did at Babson was called Innovation and Growth Post-Crisis. And this was really fascinating. We learned all about things like gorillas and chimps. If anybody's done any of this, it was very, very interesting. It took a really in-depth look at what innovation is, and the case studies were just extraordinary. And that was, for me, the most interesting, not only because of, at the time, we were obviously right in the middle of well, we were sort of coming out of what we thought was the lockdown, but actually, you know, we were still really early in the sort of overall pandemic. What innovation really means, for me, it was the most important lesson, was understanding that innovation isn't creating something brand new, although it certainly can be. It's almost always taking something which already exists and adapting it for a new purpose. And the examples, again, that we were given were just fascinating things that we think are really interesting. They've all got an evolution. You know, the iPhone didn't just come from nowhere. So it's just all this sort of constant adaptation. And they were sort of obviously encouraging us to focus on how we could apply that to our own business, because the words pivot was such a huge word. How can you pivot your business? But how do you pivot your business when you're a travel company? It's you know, it's really quite difficult. So one of the first things that we did after a bit of head scratching, when we realized that actually travel was still going to be a problem for a while, was we did some online whiskey tastings, which is something that a lot of people did. We didn't aim ours at the whiskey market. We aimed it at the luxury buyers based in the UK, with the hopes that they might come to Scotland to do a staycation with us, essentially. So we held a number of online whiskey tastings for membership groups based down in and around London. Wasn't a particularly strong revenue stream, but it enabled us to keep growing and nurturing our network, which is so vital. It was a time of intense productivity. We worked really, really hard with virtually no returns available to us through traditional means. And a time where personally, my feeling, I was almost angry. I refused to let this take my business, which we'd worked so hard to build up. So I just fought it relentlessly. And actually, you can see if you go onto any of the McLean and Bruce social media platforms, which I hope you all do, I posted pretty much every single day something positive about Scotland. And I got a lot of interaction from that, because I think LinkedIn, there were a lot of people posting about the challenges, and I didn't ever once lie or quote the truth. It was just, keeping the flag flying, keeping the home fires burning, in the expectation that at some stage travel is going to return, which hopefully it will this year. So God bless Zoom. Where would we be without it? This is Charlie doing a tasting at Broomhall. He was an absolute legend, ran all our tastings, was so much fun, and he's got huge wit and charm. And we had one tasting where, against my advice, they kept putting us in and out of breakout rooms, which doesn't really work on a whiskey tasting. And every time Charlie was moved in or out of a breakout room, he would appear back in the main room, and he'd be mid-curse because he didn't have a clue what was going on when he was sort of moved around, and he got quite frustrated. So there was a little bit of swearing going on, but I think he's pretty adept at Zoom now, as we all are. But the answer to our pivot question was hiding in plain sight. So the biggest assets we have really are our contacts, and that's both out of the whiskey industry, but crucially in the whiskey industry. We've got whiskey loving clients, we've got access to whiskey. So needless to say, we joined the dots. So this is one of the bottles that we've produced. It's a 50-year-old Glenrothes. We're looking at ways to bring more of Scotland's older and rarer whiskies to our clients who are based overseas. This does not come without its challenges, many challenges, as I'm sure you can imagine. But it's part of the evolution. It's part of the growth of the business. We have overcome most of the challenges, but it's almost like starting a new business, in that there are always teething problems. It's really exciting. While travel is still slightly in limbo, partly because it's January, it's giving us something really positive and exciting to sink our teeth into. So that's where we are today. The whiskey and travel really. Here's a picture of Charlie. Whiskey and travel going hand in hand. There he is with a cart and a suitcase and a whiskey in his hand. So two totally different industries. In our case, they go absolutely beautifully hand in hand. And so that's where we are. Watch this space. Ta-da!
Oh, Vicky, that's pretty awesome. So that bottle of scotch you were showing. So when's it coming to Canada? And how much is it?
It is. I don't know what the conversion rate is, but it's £8,000 a bottle.
Oh, one of those bottles of scotch.
Yeah. Do you want? How many do you want?
At least 10. At least 10. Just something I can roll through here. You can use that as collateral.
I'll sign you up.
There is a place downtown that would buy bottles of scotch of that price range and up, and for tasting. And you pay a chunk of coin to be there, but yeah. Wow.
But these are getting incredibly scarce, these whiskies. They're very, very old, and they weren't really that highly valued. Single casks weren't highly valued until relatively recently. They were all being used for blend. They were sort of flying about Scotland being made into blend, and blend was considered much more superior. And now we all want single cask, single malt, and so it's exciting.
I like the way you actually did work on the pivoting piece with going to the tasting, though. That was a really good idea. So how did you fit people up with the scotch then for that tasting scenario?
So we had some beautiful boxes made, and actually there are lots of membership clubs which rely on face-to-face or did rely on face-to-face events. And we sort of went into those clubs, and because the thing about going on a Zoom is it's all very well, but I think it's, if you just keep going on a Zoom as a group, you kind of need a focus to get you going, and then the chat, the networking happens afterwards. So it was perfect for them. So we put 4 whiskeys and 2 glasses into these beautiful boxes, and we actually did one on Burns Night last year, and we stuffed it full of Scottish Burnsy sort of things. So tablet is like a bit like fudge. So we made a whiskey tablet, Scottish truffles, and then haggis, neeps and tatties flavored crisps, because we couldn't actually send haggis, neeps and tatties, and some venison salami. So we were having our whiskey tasting by the fire in kilts at Broom Hall, and this particular group were down in London. And it was really interesting because it's a very informal, relaxed environment. And in terms of me then having subsequent conversations with those people, they felt very relaxed about it because the piper had piped them in. My brother-in-law had done a welcome to Broom Hall, and they sort of felt that they were in our house. And the conversations I had afterwards, they were very relaxed, and they were like, "Hey, Vicky, how's it going?" And which was really interesting, because had I approached them on LinkedIn and said, "Hello, my name's Vicky, would you like to come to Scotland, or would you like to buy some whiskey?" That's an entirely different proposition. So the whiskey tastings were very interesting from that point of view, and everybody loved them. And then we would go off the Zoom having done the whiskey tasting, and then they would have their hour of networking.
Kind of broke the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved your presentation. Thank you again for having a piper. That's really cool that it's Robbie Burns. So have a great celebration this evening. When we're going back to business, I really like the fact that when this happened, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Our whole business surrounds around travel. People can't come in. And so I just love, well, let's go learn some new things. The conscious capitalism, I like that. Innovation and growth. And, did that also, I like the fact that you shared when you were at those courses, it made you think, like they were actually pushing you to actually think, how can you innovate in your own business? And I really like that, because I think sometimes people get stuck and they don't see. So there's another reason for coming together in a group, and that whether that's a course or an activity or things that brings people together, that you're actually sharing. I never thought of that before. That's a great idea. So I love the Scotch tasting. They've done some things here with martini nights, drop the baskets off. You know what? Sorry, I know that not everybody drinks, but sometimes maybe just having that little sip takes the edge off. So, you're more chatty and more able, because ultimately everything's about the relationship, right? And that's how you started. Like, here you are, this young thing going out, doing a whiskey tasting and finding out, oh my gosh, I'm with all this royalty, and how do I do this? And cross the T's and dot the I's. I just loved your story. It was really inspirational, Vicky. Thank you.
That's really kind. Thank you. And I would say that one of my other key takeaways is ignorance is bliss.
Exactly. We don't know what we don't know, right?
It's a good job we don't know what we do know, because if I had known what I didn't know, I don't know, would we have started this journey, or would we have gone, God, I can't do that?
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry, I love it, because the pandemic pushed us out of our comfort zones. We had no choice but to take the next step, or hang up the towel and, figure out, leave your business. But I love this, because it's just like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I love ignorance. I'm always saying, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm always really good at sharing that. Like, I just don't know. How can I know if I don't know? So I love the fact that you jumped into it. You went in there and you went, oh my Lord. and look at where you are now. So that's such a great lesson for everybody. Thank you. Anybody got some questions, comments? Oh, Bernie, I see you're gonna.
Oh no, I was just going to say the same thing.
Okay.
I have a question.
I have.
Oh.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Go ahead.
Vicky, what's your connection to Connect Ottawa? Is it Margaret, or how did you come across Connect Ottawa?
That is a very good question. Now, somebody introduced me to Bernie,
Okay.
and I can't actually now remember who it was. So Bernie and I had a chat, and it was ages ago. And you know that thing where somebody says, well, you do this thing, and it's 6 months away, you go, yeah, that's fine. And then something's like, oh my God. But so I'm delighted to be here because we have such strong family connections with well, all of Canada, the Elgin County, the Elgin Regiment, the Elgin Hotel. There's Elgin Hotels in Ottawa, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So that's all connected to the Bruces. So
You gave me a little education when you shared that. It takes a Scottish to come and tell us our history. Thank you. Stefan, you had something to say?
Yeah, I had two questions for Vicky. Just wondering if they were listed on Airbnb experiences and also on Relais Chateau, which is more French and so on.
If we are listed, no, not really on anything. We've always worked word of mouth. So we've featured in certain publications, quite high-end publications, but really all we do is social media, and we work with a lot of not Relais Chateau. We work with a lot of private and chain hotels in Scotland. So they might have high-end guests who need some help with something. So they just call us and say, could you speak to our guests? But no, we're not really listed anywhere.
Okay.
Anybody else got any feedback or comments? Well, Bobby.
Great story. And I have a Scottish heritage. Purvis, the last name is Scottish. Enjoyed your presentation. The only thing I would say is when you pivot because of circumstances, outside circumstances that you can't control, the fortunate thing that you had the resources to do that. And in most small companies, unfortunately, you don't have the resources. You got to eat pretty meagerly. So it's more difficult to pivot because you're dependent on your customer. And if your customer is going through difficult times, you can only last so long in business. But to have the Prince of Monaco there, I mean, that's unbelievable. And of course, that has helped you even with your presentation because it's given you some notoriety and some substance. But I think in most companies that we're dealing with here in Canada, we're fairly small companies. And so to pivot due to outside circumstances is more difficult.
No, I must step in at this point because we are a tiny company who've gone for 2 years with no customers. So there is an outgoing every month which must be met and cannot be met. So we are absolutely no different from any for the 2 years, or let's call it 18 months, because actually we had a few bookings in late 2021. It's been only me doing absolutely everything. And like most companies, we were fortunate enough to get a government grant, which our government was really great. So that tided us over. I was very fortunate to that, and this is one of the reasons that the pivot developed, because the pivot wasn't immediately obvious to us at all. Far from it. It's a highly competitive market. It's very difficult to get into. My husband's company very kindly allowed us to do what's called an independent release. So Adelphi, which my husband's the MD of, they built a distillery called the Arden American Distillery up in on the west coast of Scotland, and they allowed us to bottle their first independent release. So it was a 5-year-old West Coast Scotland with our name on it. So much as a shop would take the margin, we were able to take the margin. So they supported wholesale, and that got us through another few months. So like all companies, we were really trying to decide whether we were going to be able to survive, whether, you know, in hindsight, I probably would have opted to shut the company down like many companies did, because the bills still have to be paid. So we actually didn't have any financial luxury or advantage over any other company. It was very, very difficult and not fun at all.
You know what, Vicky? I want to thank you for being so real, because I know that there's many people on this call, including one of them is myself. And, you know, I think that the secret was just continuing to move forward. Yes. Not, you know, what can I do? And one of the big things, even when we started Connect Ottawa and other things that were happening in my life, it was continue to have a presence, continue to go out and meet people, continue to just have these conversations, hang with the people that are in line with you, figure out then how you can grow something bigger than doing it on your own. I'm a big believer there is no more solopreneurs. It is about team building. It is like going out and figuring out who do you want on your team, who is going to be in the places, because we all have these days, and if the pandemic has proven nothing else, when it kicks you in the butt, damn it, I am not going down. I am getting up, and I'm going to find other people that want to pick up beside me, and let's just figure this out and do it together, because there is no quitting, right?
That's absolutely right. And again, you know, I keep going back to LinkedIn because it was so incredibly important to me. It still is, but it was a lifeline. I had occasionally, you know, I'd connect with somebody, and the response from that person would be, "What can I do to help you? What can I do? Would you like me to introduce you to people? What would do what, you know?" And that didn't happen before, and it doesn't really happen so much afterwards. But there was an extraordinary sort of swell of goodwill that went around, and that was very heartening.
Nice, very nice. Okay, guys, anybody else got a comment, feedback? Got a little motivation after this call?
I have a comment. Yes, Vicky, thank you so much. It was very inspiring, especially the fact that it kind of connected with me in the area you kept doing what we were doing. You tried to develop yourself in terms of having some. I remember when the pandemic hit also in New Life, it came to a point when all around me, my kind of other businesses that I know were closing down. One thing that stuck with me, and I actually had you say about it, was that you pull back and ask yourself, what can I do? And I had to just keep on, you know, as you said, posting, using the medias, connecting with the right people, the right network, maybe change some things you're doing. And even just listening to you and see how you're saying after almost 18 months, there was no business and you kept doing it. That just encouraged me, because it also signifies that times in business, we just need hope. Because you were just hopeful, I guess, at that time that everything is going to come back to. So I'm really, really, really encouraged, because from the pandemic to now, trying to go to the next level is kind of another stage. But this was what I really needed for the day to keep pushing. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Thank you, Brenda. That's really kind of you to say that. And actually, one of the ways that perhaps I didn't think about it at the time, but certainly when I look back on when things were, you know, were particularly difficult, was everything that I was doing was somehow sowing seeds. First, I had sort of two criteria. One was that everything I did had to be a win, and there had to be no losers in it. So, you know, there must be no sort of negative effects from anything that I did, and ideally plenty of positive effects. But also everything that I did was sowing the seeds. But it might not be sowing the seeds for us to reap. It might be making introductions to other people, and then, you know, things will blossom for them. But I think that kind of just constant looking to the future, if you do nothing will happen. And I think you do need to take a lot of faith in that. You do have to really there are dark days, and you just as we say in Scotland, put your big girl pants on. Just get through. It's tough.
Okay, so we are at 1:55. Well, Vicky, I really want to thank you again for joining us. It was great. You obviously touched quite a few people, sharing from the heart how you pivoted, and wishing you all the best in the next year. I am sure we're going to get back to a bit more, I don't know if we call it normal, whatever, but a new way of living and a new way we figured it out. And you know what, as I'm talking, I'm getting shivers if anybody ever gets that. But what I really think is this 2 years, we're ready. 2022, there's going to be, give us another month. Things are happening even in Europe. We're all getting vaccinated or whatever it takes to get back out there, and things are going to start booming. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm starting to get calls. People are reaching out. They're finally figuring out they're ready. So I'm thinking they're going to be ready to do some traveling. And I think Bernie's going to have to go there someday, because I know he's our Scotch drinker, or he'll be your contact here in Canada. It's like he's that guy.
I'll sample it. It's okay.
There'll be nothing left for any customers.
Sure there will be. Mike, live humor. Sorry.
So on that note, before we go, Vicky, can you make sure that you put your contact information in the chat box so people can reach out? Obviously, we need to go touch base on LinkedIn and follow that. Sharing is caring. Reach out to somebody on this call. And I just want to give everybody a heads up. On Thursday, we have our strategy session. That's actually a group that we're kind of like our accountability group strategy, staying on track for the year in 2022. So we've been talking about business plans, which is a lot like Vicky, Brian, did you revisit that now? If you understand, you've got that clear vision, that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday, the vision. Do you have a vision for what your business is going to look like coming up in a month, in 6 months, in 5 years? Do you have a vision of why? What is the why we're all in business? Is that powerful enough to get you through these tough times? So I'm really looking forward to that. If anybody'd like to join us, we put the link in the box. That's included in our VIP membership, or any of our memberships, or you can pay as you go. That is one of our paid events that helps us, the contributions help us to keep Connect Ottawa moving forward and running. So just like Vicky, we have a very small contribution to help us out. Vicky, are you part of our network right now? Can people touch base in there? I'd love if you shared some articles about your blogs on Scotch and everything like that in there. That would be super.
Would love to. Thank you so much. Will do.
Perfect. Bernie, hand it over to you. What's coming up in the future with Connect Ottawa?
So just put in the chat a couple of things. So if you're not a member, you can join. We have a free, and then we go up from there. And there are different services. So we have the Thursday event. So it's in the events.com. Then next Tuesday, we have benefits of having benefits. So the event hasn't been posted yet, because I have to have a dialogue with the presenter, and that's tomorrow. So it will be up ever so shortly. And the other important part is save the chat. So open up the chat box, look for the 3 dots, hit the 3 dots, hit save chat, and before you exit out. If you don't have the chat when you leave, or something happened in between, just get a hold of me. And my contact information is at the beginning of the stream. 5 minutes after the hour, if I have your email address, you will be seeing a survey says form. And back over to you, Vicky, by the way, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Bagpipes. The haggis, I can work on it. A bit more Scotch. The haggis will just go down like nothing's wrong. It's all good. And I'm kidding. It's going to be awesome food. Over to you, Margaret.
Perfect. Okay, so I guess that will be it for today. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Anybody else have anything to add before we take off? Man, guess what? Oh, Stefan?
No, I was just saying,
okay, perfect. Guess what?
After such a presentation, I'm speechless. I'm not much a Scotch drinker, but now I'm doing like, I'm thirsty.
Okay, so thanks everybody. It's 2:00, so you can get on to your next Zoom. Take care and hope to see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
Bye.